Okay, so here we are. This must be the next section. So now I'd like to show you in this video how to programmatically redirect a user to another URL. So first of all, let's go to our contact component right here. And now I want to show you something which I think is pretty cool. So if we take in the props right here, we have automatically added to the props what we now know is the router information. And that's because this is one of the components that the router loads up. Well, any of these things right here, the router attaches some extra information to the props object. So let me show you that right now. If we console log this props object, then we're going to see that extra information about the router on the props object. And let's save it, and we can view this in a console over here. So now if we go to the contact page, now, do you see it right here? These are the props objects, and we can see that we have the extra information already added to the props. So the router has done that automatically. So we have the history right here, and we have all of these different methods and properties. We have the location, so it says right here the current path name. Now it also says that we're on the contact page, which is, boom, exactly where we are. So for now, we want to redirect the user to a different page. For example, if we are at the home page and then after we wait, let's say 2 seconds, then we are redirected somewhere, right? Maybe to the About page or the Contact page. So how do you do that? Well, in order to do that, what we need to do is use this history object on the props object. So if you look down here, we have this push thing right here. So the history in itself keeps track of our history, obviously. And if we push a route to that history, then it's going to add another location to the history and essentially pushes to that location. So I'm going to show you how we do this. So instead of logging this to the console, I'm going to set a timeout. And then this is going to wait for about 2 seconds. And then after 2 seconds, it's going to fire this function. So we'll say that props.history.push. Good. Now, remember, it was on that history object, then the push method right here. So right here, it says we can take an argument, which is the path. So the path is going to be /about, and it's going to wait 2 seconds. So how do we make it 2 seconds? Right here, I'll just write 2,000 milliseconds. Okay, yeah, so that looks right. Let us save all this and see if it works. So let's click on the contact page and wait for 2 seconds. And as you see, after 2 seconds, it sent us to the About page. All right, so let's try again. Okay, so that is programmatically redirected. So we just say props.history.push, and then where we want to go to. So I'm just going to delete this right now because I want to try this in a different component. So I want to try it right here in the nav bar. Let's see if it works here. So I'll say set timeout again, and it's going to do exactly the same thing. Function, and inside of it, I'm going to say props.history.push, and we're going to push it to the About page again in 2,000 milliseconds. So now after 2 seconds, no matter what page we're on, it's going to redirect you or me or whoever's on the page to the About page, right? So let's say that and see if it works. Okay, so hang on. Yeah, so we get an error. It says cannot read the property of push of undefined. So apparently prop.history is undefined. Now, why do you suppose that is? Well, let's log the props to the console. We'll say console log props. Save that and view an empty object. So because previously we had all of those nested properties on the props added by the React router, I said that the React router automatically applies those properties to the props on any of these routes right here. Then it's going to add those properties to the props in these components. And now the nav bar is not in a route, so it doesn't receive those props by default. But we can always add them in using a higher order component. Now, a higher order component is something that basically wraps another component and then sort of gives it extra powers, right? So let's do this. We have to import this higher order component right here, and it's called with the router, and it's from React Router DOM. Then we go to the bottom where we export, and this is where we apply the higher order components. So I can say with router, and it's a function, and we'll pass our component as a parameter into that function. So now it's wrapping the component. Now, this function is a higher order component, and it's applying these properties to the props. Then it's returning that supercharged component right here. Now you can see that we have those things in our console. So let's test this. Click on Contact, navigates us to About, click on the Home, and again it sends us to the About page. That is the programmatic redirect in a nutshell. So I'm going to pause it right here. Come on back and we'll do something else in the next section.